Good. Yesterday we learned this speech. We're continuing learning this speech that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave in, I guess it was 1991, to the Shulchim convention, right at the end of 1991, to the convention of the Shulchim of Chabad. And we talked about this yesterday. There's thousands of emissaries that the Rebbe sent all over the world. This was begun by the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. He sent emissaries all over the world as soon as he came to America, and he started spreading out Judaism in the whole entire world. So once in a year, they all get back together in order to get like a rejuvenated, a pep speech, a locker room speech, and to get they're newly inspired in their job. What is their job? And so their job is to bring Mashiach. Which is unlike any other organization in the world, I think. Right? Every other organization in the world exists, and they make regular meetings, and they send out bulletins and this in order to strengthen the organization. How to get more money, how to get more participants, how to get bigger buildings, how to get more influence, right, in the world, how to do proper PR, public relations, and how to give speeches, and how to this, and how to win friends and influence people, and etc. That's every other organization in the world. And Chabad is supposed to be different. It's supposed to be different. Those things are important. Those things are also important. But those are, how do you say, means. That's not the goal. The goal is not to make us great. That's not the goal. Our goal is not to be leaders. Our goal is to be followers, to follow the Rebbe, to bring Mashiach. That's what we're supposed to be thinking all the time. If you have to be a leader, that's okay. What are you going to do? You can be a leader, you can be a big rabbi, a president, whatever you want. But that's not our job. The Rebbe was very, very cautious and very careful that we shouldn't get involved in politics, no matter how much we lose from not exercising our influence in the political world, because you get money, and we desperately need money. The Rebbe was very careful not to get into politics, because we're not supposed to be leaders. We are supposed to be followers. We are following the Lubavitcher Rebbe. That is our goal. And what is the Rebbe following? He's only following God. And what does God want? He wants Mashiach. So the Kenes HaShluchim, says the Rebbe, is only for one purpose, and that is to strengthen us, encourage us, direct us, redirect us to bring Mashiach, to do everything we can bring to bring Mashiach. And the Rebbe said that's the whole idea of a shliach. This is the Kenes HaShluchim. It is the meeting of the emissaries, shliach, and a shliach is the same thing as the person who sends him. He's an emissary, and that's example is Moses. Moses was sent by God to take the Jewish people out of Egypt. So it's Moshe Eved Elokim. Moshe was a servant of God. And it says the final Mashiach, who's going to come from the house of David, he's going to be just a continuation of Moses. Moses. Because even though that Moses and Mashiach, they're two different people, and Moses comes from the tribe of Levi, and Mashiach, he comes from the tribe of Yehuda, Beit David, from King David. And this indicates on two totally separate things. Him with Kashrim, they are tied and united one with the other, etc. There is in Judaism, there's this idea of Mashiach ben Yosef, but it's shrouded in mystery and is not the goal. Everyone agrees that this Mashiach ben Yosef is just a means to the end. It's a stage in the Mashiach. Some say the Ben Ish Chai says it's the same person, that he'll be revealed. The Mashiach Yosef is when he's suffering, and then when he succeeds. Whatever it is. But we're waiting for Mashiach ben David. That's what we pray for. Tzemach David Avda. But everyone agrees that the Mashiach is not from the tribe of Levi, and Moses was from the tribe of Levi. So how can he be the Mashiach? So we're going to explain this. It's going to take a little while, but we'll explain it. Okay. Now, the main thing about this idea of Mashiach, what's Mashiach? Mashiach is going to be something like Moses. The main thing of Moses was the Torah. Main thing of Moshe was the Torah. He took the Jews out of Egypt, miracles, 10 plagues, split the sea, gave bread from heaven. Right? All of this was just a means to receive the Torah. Took the Jews out through the desert afterwards. He brought them to Israel. Coming into Israel, the only thing of coming into Israel is Torah. That's the only reason the Jews are in Israel, is just to bring the Torah into manifestation in this world. There's a lot of commandments you can't do unless you're in Israel. So the Torah and the command, the Torah is the main thing. That's Moses. Whole thing is the Torah. To live according to the Torah, your limbs and your eyes and your ears and your soul should be according to the Torah, because the Torah is not just a book. The Torah is the blueprint of reality, of creation. It's pure, it's the will and wisdom of God himself, how we can make this world right. The Torah is a workbook to make us dynamic, to fix up the whole world. Even the non-Jews that keep the 7 Noahide commandments, they're supposed to do it only because it's written in the Torah. Not because their logic says you should do it, or because Noah did it, or because Abraham said to do it. Those are also good reasons. Those are good reasons, right? But that's not the final reason. It's the same thing as you have the reason to do Torah mitzvahs is because you believe in God. That's why. Not because it's going to get you into heaven, because this is the proper way, because this, you believe in God. God happens to be, God wants us to fix up the world. That's what God wants. It's not logical. The same thing, the whole idea of Moshiach. He's going to make everybody do what God wants. That's the Torah. The Torah is what God wants. So there's always this idea underlying of faith, that we really don't understand what's going on over here, but God wants us to understand as much as possible. But the underlying principle of the whole thing is that it's God, and God, of course, cannot be understood. God is creating us. God is okay, but we are emissaries, and so is King David, and so is Moses, and they're teaching us how to be emissaries, shliach, shluchim. Okay. So therefore, we are all shluchim. We are emissaries. We are all emissaries. We are all servants of the Creator. We are creations. We are beloved creations of the Creator. And we're not just creations that we sit here statically and go, and we just appreciate the Creator, which that's okay. I mean, if everybody would do that, there wouldn't be any crime in the world. There wouldn't be any licentious in the world. Everybody would just be seeing going, So that's not the goal. The goal is to make this world a dynamic place, this physical world, a dynamic, a living place full of this. And that's what the Torah does. The Torah does. I mean, interesting, all the other religions are that's what they're promising, is to get you into heaven. And Judaism doesn't promise that you're going to get you into heaven. The whole 5 books of Moses doesn't talk about heaven. Judaism promises that this world will become perfect, higher than any of the heavens, any of the meaningful world. Okay, and this will be done by being a shliach. You have to be an emissary. We have to remind ourselves constantly, we are only here to do a job. We're being sent. I don't like to use the word mission, because that, like everything else, in Judaism, has been defiled and twisted by, Christianity. So I don't want to, but that's the fact. It is. We have a mission, and we're on the mission. I mean, the whole that religion just twisted everything that there is, what God is, what Torah is, what heaven is, what hell is, what Moshiach is, especially. Okay, but that'll all be fixed up. Here we go. We are emissaries of Moses and King David, the Moshiach ben David, they're really one and the same. How is that going to be? We'll see. Yuvan will understand this, first of all, by understanding the whole idea of what is a shliach. What is an emissary, according to the Torah? A messenger, an emissary. What is it? An emissary. Now, an emissary means, let's say you have the emissary from Bolivia, right? The emissary of Bolivia is in the consulate of here, and he's supposed to be the example of, if he does something wrong, then it's a sign that all Bolivia is wrong, right? It shames the whole entire country. They catch him in some sort of, bringing in drugs or whatever it is. That says, all those people are all drugs. Here you got the emissary. He's not supposed to do anything on his own. His whole thing is to be a representative of the one who's sending him. Okay, so maybe we'll call it a representative. Want to call it a representative? Okay, let's understand what is this idea of being a representative, a shliach. What does it mean? Hechil, let's talk about the first example that there was of being a shliach in the world. And where is it? In this week's Torah portion. In this week's Torah portion, we say that Abraham wanted to marry his son, and he could have done it on his own, but he didn't. He sent an emissary. It's talked about in the Torah, in our Torah portion, the shliach that Avram sent Eliezer to find and to make a match for Yitzchak, his son, to get married. Eliezer was the emissary, the representative of Abraham. And the way that Eliezer did afterwards his mission, namely that he found a bride for Yitzchak and Rivka. So let's look and see how Eliezer did the job written in the Torah. It's not just, and the Torah is not just a history book or whatever it is, what is it? How do they call it? A storybook? Oh, not a storybook. This is coming to, it is a history book. Of course, it's a history book, and it's also a storybook. It's telling a story. But these are true stories, and they're there to teach us something very essential in our lives. Eliezer was a shliach, so are we. Eliezer did his shlichus in such a good way that it's written in the Torah, and that we can learn from. Yesh makom lachakor. We can. So let us now investigate. Ma haya geder vadin. What exactly was the category and the law of the shlichus of Eliezer in doing what Abraham? How much freedom did he really have? He was there to take a wife, livni liyitzchak. That's what Abraham said. Bring a wife for my son, for Yitzchak. You are a emissary. What type of emissaries are there? Rebbe says, I'll show you. There's a difference between many different types of emissaries. Number one, Eliezer was a shliach, the kedushin. He was an emissary to marry Yitzchak. Kedita, like it says in the Tosfot. There's in the Tosfot, sheshlucha shel adam kamoto. That an emissary of a person is like that person. He gave him, what is it called? There's a word in Hebrew, they call it proxy. Oh, proxy, huh? Proxy, I think that's the word, right? Proxy. You appoint somebody, and that person has your power of proxy. He can buy things for you. He can sell things for you. And this. So what he does is like you did it. This is a shliach of a person is like that person. Begam also, begetter shliach. The shliach also, there's a lot of different levels. Like it says, Maisa shliach, whatever the shliach does is like the person who sent him. Even more, gam koach asiya of the shliach is like kamoto the meshaleach. The ability, what he did, not just his deeds are the same, but he, so to speak, takes the place of the one who sent him. And even more, kol kulo shel shliach hu kamoto shel Moshiach. His whole being is the one who sends him. Kamoto mamish, that he becomes really one. I don't know, maybe you can take an example from this. I'm just making this up, but I'm taking an example. We just had now, there was the big elections, right, in America. So the president of the United States, he is really an emissary of the people. He is the people. He is the people. He is the ones who sent him. He is them. Right? That's the idea of a republic. America's a republic. They appoint people, and these people, they are supposed to be exactly the will of, not just the will of the people who elected them. They are the people who elected them. They are the people. I don't know if that's a good example. Okay, then you have, let's say, the vice president. The vice president, he is an emissary of the president. So the vice president, it's not he is exactly the same thing as the president, but his will is supposed to be expressing the will of the president. Okay, so in other words, when I make a representative, there's a lot of different levels of representatives. A lot of different levels of a representative. So like the president of the country, he is like the people. He is the people. And then we have like the vice president. is like the will of the president. Then we have, let's say, the consulate. The consulate of what is it, Bolivia is in a different country. That's not exactly the same exact thing as the will. He's just a representative of the will. So, but he still is an emissary. So there's different levels of unity of the one that's being sent to the one who's sending him. All these, those are different levels of shliach. Or maybe there's a different thing. Eliezer was not like really a shliach. He didn't really embody Abraham. He just had a job to do. He was a shadchan. He had to find a wife for Yitzchak, not as an emissary, or even a shadchan l'kedusha. She'af al pi shegam shadchan, even though a matchmaker has the ability to marry if he's given that power. It's not the same thing as an emissary. A person who's a matchmaker, he's sent to do a job. He's sent to do a job. He's a separate entity from the one who sent him. He has to do a job. It's not that important how he does the job. It's not that important how he does the job. The main thing is that he has a job to do, and he has to do that job. That's one type of a shliach. And he can make up his mind how he does it. Or we say, no, it's not so. He is not just there to do a job. He is a true emissary of the one who sent him. He cannot make up his mind how to do it. Everything he does has to be, he has to call back home exactly what the master would do. So there's one way that he's not a separate, that he's unified, a shliach that's unified, or a shliach that's just sent to do a job. He's just also a shliach. This is not the same thing as a shliach that is exactly the same thing, which is not the case of a shadchan, a matchmaker. We don't say that a matchmaker is the same thing as the person who sent him. Exactly the opposite. A matchmaker means that he's not like the person who sent him. A matchmaker has a job to do. But he's like a different person, and he's doing a favor or he's doing a job, whatever, for the second person. Now, both of them are carrying out the will of the one who sent him, whether it's a matchmaker or it's a representative. But a matchmaker, he's concerned only with the job. And the representative, he's concerned with the person who sent him, with his will. He wants to fill the will of the person. That's the main thing. He is, so to speak, an extension of the person who sent him. A matchmaker is not an extension. A matchmaker is exactly the opposite. He is separated from the person who sent him, but he's there to do a job, to send him back. Okay. Now, of course, this is going to be the question, what is the Moshiach going to be? And what are we supposed to be? Moshiach is going to teach us all to be Shulchim. Let's see. On the other hand, it says that Eliezer, so what was Eliezer? Eliezer was just a matchmaker. He was separate from Abraham. That's what it seems. Or maybe he was a true representative, which sort of is unnecessary. I mean, Abraham just wanted to find a match for his son. He didn't have to make a representative, an emissary. He hired him. He said he was his servant. And he said, listen, you know what? Wash the floor tomorrow. Another day, work in the field. Now I got another job for you. Find me a bride for my son. So it was just another job. Huh? So that's what it seems that Eliezer was, because Abraham didn't need any more than that. All he needed was just to find a match. That's all. Didn't have to have a representative. You are me. I am. So he's just a matchmaker, right? Says the Rebbe. Well, not 100%. On the other hand, Eliezer says, Zaken Beso a Moshel b'kol shelo. It says that Eliezer, he was the elder of the house, and he controlled everything in the house. Shemoshel b'torat rabo. It says that Abraham taught him Torah. Dole umashke mitoroto shel rabo la'acherim. That he took the teachings of Abraham and he gave them over to others. In other words, he wasn't just, Abraham didn't send him to do that. It was a natural thing. He was an Eved Avram, that an Eved Melech says the servant of a king is like the king. V'gam b'kiyum divrei Avram, when he did the words of Abraham, to take a wife for my son, for Yitzchak, Eliezer did everything exactly like Avram wanted. So here it seems to be that he wasn't just a matchmaker. And even more, it says Abraham gave him an oath, made him swear. It says, Sim not yad yadcha tachas yerich v'yashbiacha. Abraham said, swear on my circumcision. The circumcision was the only thing, item of holiness in the world. There was no Sefer Torah back then or tefillin or anything. The only thing which was holy from God's commandment in the world was the circumcision of Abraham. So he said to Yishmael, to Eliezer, put your hand on my circumcision and swear that you will do exactly what I say. That he may be, therefore, and even other reasons we can say, no, he wasn't just a matchmaker. He was a real shliach. He was really an extension of Abraham to marry Rivka, which seems to be unnecessary, but Abraham did it. He didn't just say, I'm giving you a job, good luck, God be with you, and he sent them away. No, he didn't do that. He said, I am swearing you in that you will do exactly as I say. You are me. That's what it seems to be saying. We can say that this idea that Eliezer was an emissary. So what type of an emissary was he? Was he an emissary just like a matchmaker, which that seemingly is all that was necessary? Or was he an emissary that was a true representative, an extension of the one who sent him? Okay, so this is understood also from what it says. It says that Eliezer took 10 camels from the camels of his master, and he went, and all the possessions of Abraham were in his hand. Everything. How could he take everything? What did he have? He had to have 100 wagons. He says, no. The Meforshim, the commentators, explain that Eliezer hirzik b'rishuto, that he had everything in his hand of Abraham, that Abraham gave him a deed. He was able to make from this whatever he wanted to. That Abraham wrote him a deed and gave him everything. Like it says before, that Eliezer controlled everything. So if so, it says, even some explain that say, like Rashi says, Sheshtar Matana Katav Yitzchak, that Yitzchak actually wrote a deed of ownership, and he gave that to Eliezer, Katav Yitzchak, Al Kol Asher Lo, Kadesh Yakpitzu Lishloach Lo but Pitam. He gave him an open check to Eliezer, and he wrote on this check, whoever marries my daughter gets everything that I own. Right? Everything that I own. So technically, Eliezer had possession of everything that Abraham owned. Hari Avram Masar Shtar, he gave a Shtar Matana, he gave a gift certificate in the possession of Eliezer, in a way that Eliezer had the power that if he wanted to, he could tear it up, or he could give it to whoever he wanted to. That everything that Abraham had was in the possession of Eliezer. So if so, it seems from here that Abraham did something which was apparently not necessary at all. He sent Eliezer for a job, do the job. So no, I'm going to give him everything I have. Why do you have to go do everything you have? Give him $1 million. Abraham, who knows how much he had? Give him a deed to a few camels or something. No, everything I got you belong. L'chior, at first glance, how could he give everything that he had to a person that he had a doubt what he's going to do with this? A lot of times money makes people crazy, huh? You've ever seen it? I've seen it. People that are the nicest people in the world, and they're kind, and they give charity, and this all of a sudden, I know somebody like that. He won the lottery, $1 million. He won the lottery. All of a sudden, the guy went out of his mind. He thought that he was invincible, right? He picked the lucky number, and he thought, that's it. I am Mr. Lucky. Everything I do is successful. He gambled all of his money away, and he did all sorts of other stupid things that he did with the money. Now the whole world is open to him. he could do whatever he wanted. In the end, the guy got divorced, got this. So, but in the beginning, he was a religious Jew. I knew the person personally, a nice guy, everything, a talented person. He got a little bit of money. He went wacko, completely crazy. And it happens. There isn't it true that all these people that win the lottery, right? They win $50 million. They win the pinball. What is it called? The Powerball. This $15 billion. It's all yours. Oh, he's so happy. And he comes back home. His wife poisons him, steals everything that he's got. All of his friends come and they kill his wife in order to get the money from her. And then all of a sudden he's got all these relatives he didn't know anything about. And everyone's cheating him and everybody's lying. And meanwhile, he's, until his wife kills him, he gambles all the money away. The people go crazy. And before that, they were the nicest people in the world, right? They were the nicest people in the world. They were friendly and they were kind and they were humble and they didn't get angry, didn't lose their temper, and they didn't run after desires. And they got money. They went crazy. How did Abraham know that Eliezer wouldn't do the same thing? He gave him, Abraham was very rich, gave him everything that he had. Eliezer could have given it to his best friend and said, we'll go 50-50. What he could have done anything he wanted to. How could Abraham give everything that he had to a person that he wasn't really sure what he was going to do? From this, it must be that Eliezer ayam masur lagamri, that Abraham knew that Eliezer was totally devoted to Abraham, and he was a genuine, faithful servant. Lochen, therefore, gam kasher shalcho, when Abraham sent him to do the shidduch for Yitzchak, Hayalo, he gave him not as a matchmaker. A matchmaker, you give him a couple $1,000, whatever it is. You give him a check for $100,000. You don't have to give him such a big thing, right? And he gave him everything. He sent him not just as a matchmaker, but as a shliach. That everything that Abraham had became that of Eliezer. That all of his being was given over to his emissary. Like I say, he became an extension of Abraham. And therefore, Abraham was able to give in everything that he had to Eliezer. The explanation to this is, Yuvam can understand another question, what's called a klutz kasha, an obvious question, obvious, simple question. Al-zeh shtar, on this gift certificate, he wrote to Yitzchak everything that he had in order that that people would jump to Eliezer. I'm sorry. The people would jump to marry off their daughters. Right? Eliezer had this thing, this open check, and the open check said all that anyone who marries Yitzchak marries a man that has all this. It's all yours, right? It's all yours. Listen, maybe I take back a little bit what I said before. I'm thinking about this. He couldn't give it to his friend. The check was written. It was an open check, but it was written to Yitzchak. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. The check was not an open check. The check was written to Yitzchak. Everything, but everyone knew that whoever married this man Yitzchak would get everything that Abraham owned. But he gave this check to Eliezer, and Eliezer could have torn it up if he wanted to. That's the point. So Eliezer had this tremendous power in his hands that he could do what he wanted to with the check, right? I take it back a little bit. He wasn't really rich. But he did have in his hands all of Abraham's possessions in this check. So actually, maybe he could have done something. I'm sure that the people that are, how do you say, con men nowadays could figure out a way to change this. But suffice it to say that Abraham gave everything that he had. He put it on the line. He gave it to Eliezer, put it in Eliezer's hands. Okay, so what I said was maybe that Eliezer could not have, taken it and done what he wanted to with it, but he could tear it up, like the Rebbe said. He could tear the thing up, that he wouldn't have that power anymore. Okay, so here we have another question. If this gift certificate that he gave to Yitzchak, that everything that he had, in order that everyone would see how rich Yitzchak was and they would want their daughters to marry him. Even regarding to the charity, the law is that a person should not give everything he owns in charity. And a person who does this transgresses on what it says in the Torah. Shahari Hu Omer, it says, Mikol Asher Lo, that you have to give charity from everything you have, but not everything you have. Why did Abraham give everything to Yitzchak? He could have given half of what he had to Yitzchak. So we have two questions. Why did Abraham give this deed to Eliezer? Or Yitzchak wasn't with Eliezer when he went to find the bride. Why did he give it to Eliezer? And number two, why did he write everything there? How could it be that Abraham gave everything that he had to Yitzchak? Everything. Even if he would give him, even im hoya moser lozot kavar as birusha, even if he gave it to him as an inheritance, then also it wouldn't have been so simple. Right? Give everything away to Yitzchak, everything he had in his inheritance to Yitzchak. It says that a person is not supposed to give away as an inheritance everything to one son. If he has other sons, he's supposed to give them also something. Even an inheritance is not supposed to give him everything. How much more so that this is kadesh yikfotzo, so that there should be desirous to people that they should give their daughters to him. Why give him everything? Ubafran, and especially shagamim lo masar kol asher lo, even if he would have given not everything that he had, but just a lot of what he had, the majority of what he had, that would have been enough to cause fathers to want to give their daughters to him. Abraham was tremendously rich. It would have been enough if he would have given half of what he had. And that would have been enough that fathers would jump to give their daughters to him. And especially that Avram was, at that time, he was 140 years old, not 138. He was 140 years old when he took Yitzchak. Oh, that's right. He took Yitzchak to sacrifice him. He was 137. And it says Yitzchak was 3 years in heaven till he came back. So now he was 140, right? Afterwards, Abraham lived a lot of years. Abraham lived to 175. He lived many years. He lived another 35 years, right? 35 years. He was 175 when he died. So at the time of this marriage, Abraham was 140. So he needed things for himself. Why would he give everything that he had to Yitzchak? Even more, it says that Abraham, after Sarah died, that he took other women. But Taylor Lo, it says that he took other women, he sent them to the east, whatever. And especially the inside, it says, we can explain, according to what it says, that Yitzchak was the son of Abraham, and Abraham gave birth to Yitzchak. We'll see next week's Torah portion. And it says, the rabbis say that the face of Yitzchak was very similar, almost exactly similar to Abraham. Shekain Gamba Panimius are also in the inside. Their souls and their service, they were one thing. Remember, we learned the Sikha last Friday. They were just two sides of the same coin. Abraham was Chesed, Yitzchak was Gevurah. They were one Hemshech, the Avos and Merkava. So if so, Abraham didn't have to give everything he had to Yitzchak. They were already unified. Give half of what he had to Yitzchak. So we have to understand, if so, what exactly is going on? Why did Abraham give everything that he had to Yitzchak? Why everything? So maybe we can explain like this. The marriage of Yitzchak to Rivka and the wedding and the preparation for the wedding, sending out Eliezer, that's written in the Torah, it's not just one individual marriage between two individual people, Yitzchak and Rivka. But this is, in a way, the most general topic in the whole Torah. This is the whole topic of creation that Judaism is bringing to the world. What is it? Marriage. This is the first marriage in the Jewish people after circumcision. I mean, Ishmael and they also got married, but after Abraham did his circumcision, this is the first marriage that is mentioned. And even more, by means of this marriage, there was made offspring. There came all the Jewish people. The son of Yitzchak was Yaakov, Yisrael, and we are Bnei Yisrael. So this marriage between Yitzchak and Rivka, this is the first marriage which was expressly mentioned in the Torah after Abraham circumcised himself. In other words, after God made the covenant with the Jewish people. So he was the first one, so to speak, to give birth to a 100% Jewish child, right? This was after the covenant. No, yeah, I'm sorry. This is the first marriage in the Torah to produce a 100% Jewish child, right? Yitzchak was already after Abraham circumcised himself. So Yitzchak was, so to speak, a totally Jewish child afterwards. But when he got married to Rivka, so their marriage gave birth to a child that was 100% Jewish. It was 100% Jewish. His mother was Jewish, his father was Jewish. Kalomer, in other words, Nosaf al Nesuim, I have to think about what I just said. Nosaf al Nesuim pratim between Yitzchak and Rivka, this indicates that their marriage was also a marriage of all the Jewish people. This produced Yisrael, and Yisrael became the father of all the Jewish people. Bnei Yisrael. And Nesuim halalu, this marriage brought to all the offspring that it's possible to make the existence of the Jewish people until the end of all generations. So in other words, like this, Abraham was born, he wasn't born a Jew. Yitzchak was born a Jew. Yitzchak was born after the circumcision of Abraham. And Yitzchak, therefore, he gave birth when he married Rivka. So after, obviously, Rivka, she converted. She came from the direct relative of Abraham. So Rivka and Yitzchak, they gave birth to the Am Yisrael. So therefore, this marriage is a marriage which is the basis of all the Jewish people. That's why it's so tremendously important. That's the reason why Abraham gave everything that he had to Yitzchak. Because this was not just a regular wedding where you could ask all these questions. And Yitzchak wasn't an individual person, but this is a marriage of all of the Jewish people. So this is relevant, therefore, to all of the Jewish people and to Abraham himself, because Abraham was the head of Abraham. He was the Rosh Shel Klal Yisrael. Abraham was the first Jew, right? Abraham was the first Jew. After the circumcision, he became the first Jew. Because of this, he brought all. Therefore, he put everything that he had, he put into the continuation of the Jewish people. The Elohim Dubar, and if it was talking about Abraham, because he was a regular, normal father, a history book, Abraham was the first Jew, and there was this tribe called Jews, and he gave birth to another person that carried out this tribe called Yitzchak. Then it wouldn't be fitting that he gave everything that he had. All these questions that we had are relevant if it was just two normal people. Abraham was a person, Yitzchak was a person. They were a person of a certain religion, like a certain group, whatever the race. Then it wouldn't be relevant that he would give everything. Give only a little bit. He would give but and Abraham would leave a little for himself. But since that this marriage is the most general thing that there can be in creation, that this encompasses all of the Jewish people, and the Jewish people, their job is to educate the whole entire world, that this is the whole topic and the whole essence of what Abraham was. That's Yitzchak. Abraham was the head of the Jewish people, the first Jew. So therefore, he didn't want to leave anything by himself whatsoever. He gave everything he had to promote this wedding, this marriage, which was going to produce the Jewish people. Even the smallest detail he didn't leave on his own. Therefore, he gave everything that he had. He gave himself, he put himself into it totally, everything he had. Okay, now we're going to have the question, if Abraham gave everything he had, then why didn't he do the job himself? What did he have to make an emissary for? And then we're going to understand the importance of an emissary, and this we're going to talk about, God willing, tomorrow. 1 minute.